So I first decided to try out for the LitiGators my freshman year. I had heard about it from my friend. So we went to the info session. I did my tryout freshman year. I did not make it on the team, but I came back my sophomore year and I tried out again and I made it that year. My advice to you would be to just be yourself. Do not get stressed. Do not try to be perfect. For me, my freshman year, I was trying to be so perfect and I worked myself up into this ball of stress. So then my sophomore year, I decided, okay, I can't stress myself out. That didn't work. And I kind of just did my thing. I was just myself and it was a lot more comfortable and it was a lot easier.
My advice for trying out is to prepare, prepare, prepare. If you're an attorney, I recommend preparing your speech and giving it to people you know, people you trust. They can give you feedback and tell you if the story you're trying to tell is clear. And if you're a witness, I recommend looking for places that you can emphasize your character so that the people who will be watching your audition really know who you are and what character you're trying to portray.
My advice for someone considering trying out would be to go to office hours when they are offered to help with your tryout. I didn't do that my first year and I didn't make the team, and then the second year I went to the office hours and I ended up making the team. So they're very helpful and everyone there is just trying to help you to succeed and do the best that you can.
I'm glad I tried out because of the immediate support system I have. As an international student coming into UF knowing absolutely nobody, the LitiGators became a second family for me. I know that at any given moment, I have at least 20 numbers in my phone that I could call and they would be there for me no matter what. And that's just one of the hundreds of thousands of benefits of being on this team.
There's always someone, down to do something. There's always someone there to go to for advice. And if you're like me and you're something of a first generation student, whether that be undergraduate, whether you're the first one in your family wanting to go to law school, that can be really helpful, having someone to go to who's older than you, trying to do the same things that you want to do.
I'm so glad I joined the LitiGators because between preparing for tournaments and competing, I've learned so many things about myself, learned things that'll help me in law school, and I've met friends who I would have never met on campus if I didn't join this team.
All right, so thank you so much for sitting through that. We had a couple of our members who couldn't be here tonight record a video to give you guys advice and to give you tips about, their tryouts, their experience on the team. We're more than just the 5 or 6 people we showed on the screen, and we're actually just going to go ahead and get started with our presentation. So we are the LitiGators. We're UF's undergraduate mock trial team. No matter how you heard about us, you're here now, and we're so excited to get to share our organization with you. So to start off, we're just going to go through the overview of what the information session is going to give you tonight. So first off, we're going to start with who are the LitiGators? Second, probably a question you've asked yourself when you've seen us tabling or talked with friends, what even is mock trial? The time commitment and the expectations, what the tryout process looks like. We're going to show you demonstrations of every single part of a tryout by the members of the team that introduce themselves at the beginning and give you some tryout advice. And then there's going to be questions and a meet and greet with Sam and I afterwards. And if you do have any questions, you can send a private chat to Sam. She is going to be asking questions to me at the end of the information session so that we can answer all of your questions and you can get to know the two of us a little bit better. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Sam to talk about who are the LitiGators.
So who are we? We are competitive undergraduate group club, so student organization, and we were founded in 2007. So we're comprised of approximately 50 to 60 students that go to UF as undergraduates. It really varies per year, that number. We don't have a set number that we stick to. It kind of just depends on how many people try out and how many people we can bring on. As an organization, we are coached by UF faculty, we're coached by law students and lawyers, professors at the law school. Our head coach, Dr. Joel Black, actually works at UF Law. And essentially what we do is we pretend to be fake lawyers and fake witnesses in a mock trial, but it is a lot of real fun.
All right. And you're also probably wondering, what is mock trial? Mock trial is a simulation of what it's like to be in a real court. So like Sam was saying, it's fake witnesses, it's fake attorneys, it's a fake case, but you're actually performing all of it in a real life simulation. We compete under the American Mock Trial Association, which is AMTA. They have about 700 teams in their entire organization all across the country. Big schools that you know, small schools, everyone competes under AMTA. And the LitiGators is the official source for AMTA mock trial here at UF. So currently, you know, AMTA has rankings every year. We have like a national tournament and we compete to try to get to nationals at, you know, a semifinals and further levels. And after our competition this past year, we actually are now ranked number 4 in the nation out of all of those 700 teams, which is insane. And we are actually one of 3 teams to have both our A and B team ranked in the top 25. So UFA is number 4 and UFB is ranked number 21. So the goal of our organization is to travel to compete against these other colleges and universities in AMTA across the country at tournaments. So this is everywhere from UChicago to UVA to Duke and Vanderbilt. We really do travel a lot of different places to get to see what other schools do mock trial like.
What do we do? So essentially, like I said, we have this big organization of about 50 to 60 people, and then we make smaller teams within our organization. So every team is going to have around 6 to 10 people. We normally lean on the 10 side. And essentially in every trial and on every team, there's going to be 3 attorneys and 3 witnesses on each side of the case. So there's always 2 sides on the case, the defense and the prosecution or the plaintiff, and you're going to have 3 attorneys and 3 witnesses on each side. As a team, you're going to prepare both sides of the case because that's what you're going to be presenting at tournaments. And essentially, you're reviewing a fictional case with fake facts. However, you do have witness testimony through affidavits, case law to refer to, and legal documents and exhibits that help you kind of tell a story through pictures and sets and procedures.
And in addition to, helping you learn, the legal side of mock trial, we also help you to find your people in your community on campus. I joined the LitiGators my freshman year, and every single one of our 50 to 60 members is going to be in a, competitive tryout. We're trying to give you guys the chance to join this community, and each of the teams that are traveling are all going to go to competitions. So it's not like, you just make one and one stays in-house. Every single one of our teams travels, which makes a great opportunity for you to get to know those people a little bit better when you spend weekends with them at tournaments. Additionally, that travel that we're talking about is free. The team covers any hospitality, meaning like hotels or anything like that we're staying in, as well as transportation. The only thing that you'll be on the hook for is food for the weekend, and you can bring your own. You can buy when you're in the city that you're in, whatever it may be. But the transportation and the hotels are going to be paid for by our organization because we try to be as accessible to all parts of campus.
So in terms of time commitment, we have official, formal practices twice a week on Wednesdays and Sundays. So Wednesdays are at 7:30 p.m. just to accommodate for late classes, other student organization meetings you might have, and Sundays at 6, so it's not too late in the evening running into the week. Being on the mock trial team honestly takes a lot of time and dedication, and a lot of you are already here, so you've proven yourselves already, but it is a big time commitment. We do work really hard. There are some days where we stay at practice for 3 to 4 hours. There are some days where we're only there for an hour or 2. And it really just depends on what time of year it is, but it for sure is worth it and worth all the benefits.
Right. And why join the LitiGators? So first off, it's a great place to develop your public speaking and your logical reasoning skills. Students will join the team as attorneys, witnesses, or both. So you have the ability to, hone your acting skills, hone your public speaking skills. And these are things that you're going to need to develop all throughout college to go into the workforce. So you might as well do them on the team. Additionally, it's good exposure in the law community. It looks great for law school. In fact, mock trial involvement is the 3rd leading indicator for a law school acceptance letter behind your LSAT scores and your GPA. So literally after your scores and numbers alone, what they look for is mock trial involvement in college, which is really fantastic. But, if law school isn't in your future, just like you heard, in our LitiGators that introduce themselves, we have psychology majors, criminology, philosophy. We're not all just political science majors. It's also great for the competitive aspect of the team. You get to work with a team, build your people skills. And additionally, we also offer class credit. So on the team, you'll be able to earn 3 credits of an elective course called Trial Advocacy. It's a course that's only open to people on the team. You don't have to do any assignments for it or anything like that. It's literally just to reward all the hours that you put into being on the team. So you get 3 class credits in addition to all the traveling and competitive stuff that you're able to do.
So this is, we kind of just put all of the law schools that we could think of that some of our alumni and previous former litigators have been accepted to. So as you can see, we have a lot of highly ranked law schools. We have a lot of law schools from all across the nation, Columbia, Cornell, even here at UF. So we definitely have a lot of connections and networking opportunities within the team as well.
And again, if law school is not up your alley, that's totally okay. It's not for everyone. The list on your left is going to be a list of surveyed majors from our team this past year. It is everything ranging from biology, biotechnology, ecology, engineering, political science, theater. We're really all over the spectrum. And you heard it in the introductions too. All of us have a different major. You know, we might have a little bit of a similarity in a minor or a major somewhere here or there, but all of us are on our own unique academic path. Additionally, the list on the right is a list of organizations that litigators are not just involved in, but organizations that they hold leadership positions in. Every single one of these organizations has a litigator on an executive board or a committee head or something like that. So it really shows you that we are not just, about building you up as future lawyers, but also as leaders on campus in every single corner of UF.
So what if any of you don't have mock trial experience? That's entirely fine. I actually had no public speaking experience before. I didn't even know mock trial was a thing until my roommate dragged me to one of the info sessions. In fact, a majority of our team, over 85% of the members currently, had no experience with mock trial before they tried out. So a lot of them might have done theater, a lot of them might have done debate, Model UN, a lot of them have no public speaking experience or no legal experience, and that's totally okay. We're just looking to see if you have the potential, and as long as you're interested and committed, you're on the right track, and we're definitely going to help you be the best you can be.
All right, so talking about this tryout process, this is probably what you're all waiting for. So round 1 is going to take place August 30th to September 3rd. I also, while I'm talking about this slide, I really recommend that you take a moment and screenshot it. This has really important information about trying out as an attorney and trying out as a witness. So go ahead and take a snapshot while I'm talking now. But you pick your day and time. We're going to have a point at the end of our information sessions where we're going to put a QR code up on the screen. You can scan it and then it'll take you to the tryout registration. You can try out as an attorney, a witness, or both, and you can make the team as an attorney, witness, or both. Sometimes if you try out as both, you might make it as one or the other, but it maximizes your chances of making the team. As a freshman, I tried out just as an attorney because I was like, there's literally no way I can witness. I have since witnessed on the team. I promise it's not that daunting. I really do recommend that if you are interested in making the team, that you try out as both to maximize your opportunity of getting onto the team. So tryouts will be tentatively in person. We're hoping to host them on campus so that it's centrally located for everyone. However, if you happen to come down with COVID-19 or a family member has, or any sort of special circumstance, we're going to be offering Zoom tryouts. All of these signups for the tryouts say in person with a room that's to be announced, just while we wait for the final approval. But you can just email us, and we're going to put our email at the end of the information session if you think that you're going to need a Zoom tryout. So the 2 different tryouts that you can do, each of them are 15 minutes, is an attorney tryout and a witness tryout. So I'm just going to talk about them very briefly now. You're going to see a full demonstration of what each component of a tryout is. But just know that we also recommend, in order to keep them, separate in your brain, because you do have to memorize your material, that you try to get them scheduled on different dates. I really wouldn't recommend doing them back to back. I think it makes it more difficult to switch from, your attorney side into your witness side immediately. So you give yourself a couple of days to, decompress and allow yourself to be able to, do both tryouts to the best of your ability. So the attorney tryout is an opening statement and a cross-examination. An opening statement is a speech, and a cross-examination is you asking questions to a witness on the other side of the case. So if you're a prosecution attorney, you're going to be asking questions to a defense witness. And we're going to go over how to do one. You're going to see a demonstration, and the witness that you're going to be crossing is going to be a current member on the team. The witness tryout is you performing a pre-written direct examination, and you're going to be cross-examined, which is where you're going to be receiving those questions from the other side by a current member. So a direct examination is from the same side. So the attorney and witness are from the same side, and a cross-examination is just like it sounds. It's the opposite side of the case. So again, you're going to see a demonstration of all of these. And if you're wondering where these materials are going to come from, these like directs and crosses that we're talking about, we're going to give you a tryout packet that'll be sent out after you sign up for a tryout. There's going to be another slide on this as well, but just to kind of give you a little preemptive look into what's coming, that'll give you all the information that you need to know about your tryout and all the materials that you're going to need to use.
So if you're concerned about having a quiet space or a private space, if you're on campus living in a dorm or you're at home and you share a bedroom or anything like that, just let us know. You can send us an email. You can message us on one of our social media pages. Emails preferred, but we do have a private room rented out in the Rights Union that we're going to be sanitizing in between all tryouts. So you're more than welcome to go there and use it. And all of the results for the first round of tryouts are going to be coming out on September 5th. So we will email you the results. We'll let you know via email. Just keep an eye out in your inbox. And if you're invited back to round 2, we'll go ahead and schedule a callback time that works best for you for the following, I believe it's Monday the 6th, and then we'll follow up via email.
All right, and just like Jane said, she had it right. So round 2 is September 6th. These tryouts are going to be 20 minutes. They're also tentatively in person with that same Zoom option for special circumstances. Basically, from the first round, we're going to look at your tryout. We're going to see that we're interested in bringing you back. And in that email that lets you know that you've been called back, there's going to be a line or two about something that you can change for part of your material. So you're going to receive feedback because we want to see how well you can adapt the stuff that you've already memorized. And it's a pretty quick turnaround. You get it on Sunday, you try out on Monday. So it's not going to be anything drastic, but we just want to see what you can do with little changes and little notes to see if you're able to incorporate that into your material. Results then for the second round, which is the actual results of making it onto the team, will be released by email on the morning of September 7th. And then the next day, that Wednesday, our first practice is September 8th at 5:30. I know it's a quick turnaround, but we want to get you guys, if we know we want you as soon as possible integrated into the team so that you can start meeting everyone and learning about how to do mock trial.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with some of the demonstrations. So we'll just give you a little bit of background on the case that we'll be referencing with all of the demonstrations this time around. So it was the estate of Genesis Petrillo versus Harper Martini and Peony Estates. So last year's case was a civil case. It was involving a mother-in-law, their daughter, and a controversial fiance. So Casey Soto and Genesis Petrillo had planned their wedding for June 8th, 2019 at Peony Estates, a winery and a bed and breakfast that was owned and operated by Casey's parent, Harper Martini. And during the rehearsal dinner the night before the wedding, Harper presented Genesis with a bottle of wine, which she drank. And after drinking the wine, Genesis died. A toxicology report showed that the presence of pesticide in Genesis' system is what eventually led to her death. And Genesis Estate has sued Harper Martini and Peony Estates for battery and negligence per se. So you're going to be hearing today an opening statement, which was that speech we talked about a little bit earlier from the plaintiff. Laura Soysal will be giving that. And then you'll hear a direct examination of Devin Johar, who was a DJ at the wedding that night, and he will be played by David Egloff, and Wilmar Escalante will be giving the direct. And the cross-examination of Devin Johar will be done by Mia Venezia. So if you want to move to the next slide. All right, so what is an opening statement? So this is the speech. It's the very, very first thing that the jury is going to hear. So it's really important in this speech to introduce the main ideas of your theory and your case, all of the important people and the important factors that went into this theory, and providing a really detailed and good outline of what you want the jury to think happened that day or happened in that case. So this speech is going to really just be you telling a story, a shortened version of what a preview really of what your case in chief is going to be like when you present it in trial. So we're going to go ahead and have an example of a plaintiff opening from last year's case from Laura.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, may it please the court. Nothing else matters. June 8th, 2019 was supposed to be the happiest day of Genesis Petrio's life. She was supposed to walk down an aisle and say the words, "I do." But as you'll learn today, just hours before she would start a new life with her fiance, Casey, Genesis fell into a coma, one that she would never wake up from. Genesis died in the early morning of her wedding day. But members of the jury, make no mistake, her death wasn't inevitable. It should have been prevented that day. The venue of her wedding, Peony Estates, and its owner, Harper Martini, owed Genesis at least that much. See, Peony Estates is a local winery and bed and breakfast with endless grape fields as far as the eye can see and fantastic views of Rapid River Valley. But for all of its beauty, you'll learn that nothing else matters more at Peony Estates than getting things done quickly and cheap. So quick and so cheap, you'll learn they broke the law. And chemical pesticides ended up in their wine. As for Genesis, it cost her life. That is why the estate of Genesis Petrio has brought a claim of negligence per se against the defendant, Peony Estates. Now, as the plaintiff in today's case, we hold the burden of proof. So we must prove to you two elements of negligence. First, that Peony Estates violated the Midlands Building Code. And second, that violation was the direct and proximate cause of Genesis Petrio's death. And we must prove those elements to you by a preponderance of the evidence, meaning it's simply more likely than not that Peony Estates put profit and convenience above safety because nothing else matters to them. But it did matter. It mattered to people like Genesis and their families. And FDA Inspector Riley Atkins O'Keefe will tell you exactly why. Mr. O'Keefe will say pesticides are dangerous and that they weren't stored properly at Peony Estates. In fact, you'll even get to hear that pesticides were kept in the same room where the wine was bottled. And Casey Soto testifies later today as well. Mr. Soto will also explain how he laughed, how he smiled when guests celebrated he and his fiance at the rehearsal dinner. And as Genesis was gifted a bottle of Peony Estates wine, not knowing that these were the final hours of her life. You'll hear that right after that rehearsal dinner ended, Genesis was rushed to the hospital in the middle of the night. Dr. Kwan, the lead emergency room doctor on call that evening, will say he and his team, they did everything they could with the time that they had, but Genesis, she was too far gone. She died. So, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of today's trial, my co-counsel will come before you a final time and review all of the evidence in today's case, all of the mistakes and the plain carelessness of this defendant. They'll ask you if it's just more likely that Genesis died on her wedding day because nothing else matters at Peony Estates more than their money and speed. So we're confident you'll come to the only fair and just verdict. Find the defendant liable for negligence. Thank you.
All right, let's give some chat Zoom reaction applause for Laura, because you guys can't get on screen and clap. I feel so bad, but let's get some claps up in here. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Laura, for giving the demonstration. We're going to go ahead and start back up the presentation again. And please do not worry about being as good as Laura. She is a professional. She's been doing it for years. We are simply looking for potential, and you can use her speech as inspiration when you're going to be writing your own opening for this year's case, which we're going to give a sneak peek for at the end of the information session. I can go ahead and explain what a direct examination is. So unlike the speeches, this is a conversation between an attorney and a witness from the same side of the case that are telling your side's version of the events. So either the prosecution or the defense is going to do a direct examination, and it's where you want to bring forth the good evidence for your side of the case. You want it to be simple and interesting and for the jury to follow. and you want to be able to create and add character. So when we're talking about witnesses, there are basically 3 categories that you'll be able to try out as. You're going to see what we call a character witness right now. But if you don't really think that a fun or spontaneous character is your thing, you can try out as a crier or an emotional witness, or as an expert if science or anything is like that more up your alley. So David will be putting on a character witness for you. A lot of times these have a fun backstory. They have, jokes and stuff added into the direct. And sometimes they have a little bit something extra. So I won't reveal what David's little something magic that he does so well is, but you'll see it in a minute or two. So check out this example of a plaintiff direct examination from last year performed by David and Wilmar.
Good evening. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Jello Tuzuri. My name is Igor Vladimir Romanov Yohar III, but the American name Devin. Devin Yohar.
Where are you from, Mr. Johar?
Well, originally from a place called Leningrad, but after the collapse of Soviet Union, didn't feel like home anymore. So I came to America. Home of free, land of brave. Sounded like a nice place.
What do you do for a living?
I'm living American dream, making it big in music industry. I'm working as a disc jockey, a DJ. I play all different kinds of events.
You mentioned you were a DJ. Where do you usually perform?
Sometimes Midlands, sometimes Highlands, never Lowlands though. DJ there take all business. Name something like a Vanilla Ice. Apparently big name, but I have never heard of him.
Mr. Johar, have you heard of Peony Estates?
Yes, I've played a few times at Peony Estates. It is vineyard in Midlands.
Who owns Peony Estates?
This is Harper Martini, a person who paid me to play music.
How many times have you performed for the defendant, Harper Martini?
I performed 3 times for Martini at the Peony Estates in 2019. It was May 17, May 30, and June 7.
Well, let's start by talking about May 30th. What event were you performing at that day?
This was a funeral, so lots of sad music. People like Lady Gaga, Mr. 50 Cent, things like this.
Was the defendant there that day?
Yes, but Martini was in office for most of the party. I went to go talk after closing everything up.
How did that conversation go?
It was short, like a Russian summer.
What was the defendant doing when you walked into their office?
Martini was first listening to a loud voicemail, then went over to desk and started to write down notes.
Would you recognize a picture of this note if I were to show it to you today?
Yes.
Mr. Johar, what have I just put on the screen?
This is note Martini was writing.
What, if anything, stood out to you from this note?
A couple things stick to me. It talk about a wedding not happen and pay a $300,000. And it is written in same ink Martini pen had that day. It is the same note.
Who is this note addressed to?
It says Genesis.
Mr. Johar, do you know anyone named Genesis?
Yes, Genesis Petrio. This is person getting married to Casey Soto.
How do you know Genesis Petrillo and Casey Soto?
From talking to Martini. Martini told me all about a wedding of Casey Soto and Genesis Petrio and plans to retire after. Martini told me wanted Casey to take over whole vineyard. But Martini a little bit scared that the Genesis would never go for this. But Martini told me she had planned to take care of all problems.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right. So you guys got to hear what a character witness looks like. Thank you, David and Wilmar. We're going to go ahead and pull the presentation back up again. So you guys saw that David's character is a Russian character. Also, by the way, let's get those little Zoom things in the chat again. I don't know what to call them. I guess the emoticons, reactions, whatever they are. Let's get some applause in the chat for David and Wilmar. David is a Russian character. He had Russian jokes in his direct examination. He referenced Leningrad and the fact that he's a disc jockey instead of a DJ. You see, you can really go all out with these types of witnesses. Whether you want to do an expert, a character, or emotional witness, you can really like commit to the character, add in lines, give them a background, and really paint that full story for the jury.
All right, so moving on to a cross-examination. So this is a little bit different than what you just saw. So a cross-examination is going to be a chance for the attorney on the other side of the case to question the witness. So for the attorney, they're going to be asking a lot of leading questions, very close-ended questions to try and get the witness to agree with them and agree with their theory and what they're trying to elicit to the jury. So you're going to ask a lot of close-ended questions like, you were at the bar on this night, right? Where the witness has to respond with yes or no. And this is going to ensure that the witness is bringing out good facts for your side of the case, because you want to make sure that you're taking control of the witness and getting your theory out for the jury to hear. In terms of the witness's side, you don't want to be too agreeable. You also don't want to be too fighty or combative. So you want to be able to give a yes or no answer while also sprinkling in a little bit of character. So try and find a good balance of where you can make jokes. For example, like you just heard David do with David, he was making a lot of jokes about the different DJs he would play at a funeral, which Lady Gaga, I don't know, is not my first choice for a funeral, but you can definitely find a lot of places to insert some character and to kind of wiggle out of some of the answers that might not look great for you in your side of the case. You don't always have to give a straight up yes or no. You can kind of explain a little bit so that you can still get your points out for your theory. And you want to make sure that you're bringing all the attention to yourself and you're the center of attention in the courtroom. So now we'll go ahead and hear a cross-examination from Mia, who will be cross-examining Devin Johar once again.
Good evening, Mr. Johar.
Good evening.
You were at Peony Estates on June 7th, 2019.
Yes, of course. This was day of big wedding.
And that wedding was for Harper's child.
And a very beautiful couple.
At one point, you wandered into an employees-only section of Peony Estates.
Yes, I was looking for a martini.
That door was unlocked.
Yes.
Nobody stopped you from going through that door.
Of course not. I was looking for a martini.
And you would agree with me that it would have been possible for anyone else to go through that door as well, right?
Yes, it was unlocked.
That door led you to the bottling area.
Yes.
And in that bottling area, you saw a bottle of Cara wine.
Yes, I see bottle right next to a martini, standing next to bottle alone.
You don't know how long that bottle had been on that shelf?
I do not. This was first time in bottle room.
You don't know who else could have touched that bottle of wine?
No, I am not sure.
Now, Mr. Johar, when you were first asked about this case, you initially didn't want to be involved.
No, I did not think simple old man had anything to testify in today's case.
But then you saw all the news coverage it got, and then you wanted to be involved.
Yes, when I saw what happened, a girl died, the pesticide, maybe I have something to offer.
So you started doing television interviews.
I only did one television interview. It was Good Morning America. I could not refuse.
Since Good Morning America, your popularity has skyrocketed.
Yes, this is what the people tell me.
Web searches about Devin Johar have gone up tenfold.
I believe so.
And people are downloading your music more than ever.
This is what grandson Igor the Third tells me. I believe so, yes.
Your business is benefiting from your testimony today.
Yes, little Igor is very proud of his old badushka.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Great. Well, thank you, Mia and David. All right. So as you saw, Mia was trying to take control of the witness by giving a lot of leading questions that were kind of rounded out with correct, you'd agree with me. And David was also trying to still elicit yes or no's and answer the question, but was still wiggling a little bit and giving some character to not make his character look as bad. We can go ahead and move on. So the tryout process, I know this is what all of you guys have been waiting for and what you really want to hear. So we will go ahead. Let me drop the link to the sign up sheet in the Zoom chat. So you'll essentially just put in your basic contact information, and then you'll be able to fill out what time and date that you want to try out. So they are open from Monday through a portion of Saturday. If you do want to do 2 separate tryouts if you want to try out as both a witness and attorney, you'd have to go ahead and register twice. But yeah, it's very easy. Just click the link, follow the fill out the form. And then in terms of the case materials that you will be using for the tryout, we will be emailing all of you a tryout packet. So anyone that signs up for the tryout, we will get your email and we'll send you the case packet and everything you need to know that details what an opening is, how to write a direct examination. We'll even be giving you guys an example of what a direct examination looks like, so you know what to follow. You're gonna have to memorize that, but all of that will be sent out to you guys following today's info session, most likely sometime tomorrow. If you have any questions about it, if you don't receive it via email, feel free to just contact us via email or our social media, and we'll try and get that to you as soon as possible. And then we are hosting virtual office hours. So from starting tomorrow evening through Saturday, we're going to be having a bunch of our current members on the LitiGators joining the virtual Zoom call for you guys to join and pop in if you have any questions about the case packet, if you don't understand something, if you want some tips on your character, anything like that. I would recommend taking a screenshot of this screen right now as well, so you have those times written down in your calendar somewhere. All right, we can move to the next slide. And here is a sneak peek of this year's case. So we actually just found out about this case a week or 2 ago. So it's the State of Midlands versus Dakota Sutcliffe. Dakota Sutcliffe was originally charged with and convicted of felony murder. However, their conviction was overturned and the case was remanded back to the trial court after the Midland Supreme Court found the felony murder rule to be unconstitutional. The state of Midlands has indicted Sutcliffe on 1 count of aggravated arson for the burning of Chuggy's Bar and the death of a local firefighter, Jalen Williams. So very excited for an arson case this year. It's going to be criminal. So every year we switch off between criminal and civil. And we can move to the next slide.
All right, so that is all we have for you as in terms of the presentation. Here are all of our social medias, but we're going to get to the next slide, which is obviously most important to you guys. This is the link to sign up now. So I know Sam put it in the chat, but if you want to scan it as a QR code, you're more than welcome to. We're going to keep this up for a little bit before we move into the Q&A. So we're going to give you guys a couple of minutes to sign up if you're interested, and please stick around so that we can answer your questions.
Still accepting questions also. So if you have any more, just feel free to private message me them.
And just, I got one, a bunch of times just right now. The office hours, we can go ahead and go back to that slide. And the link for the office hours is going to be sent out to you if you register for a tryout. And just to answer another one, if you do happen to register for a tryout and you're unable to go, or you decide that you no longer want to do it, you can cancel that to free up the spot for someone else. When you get your confirmation email for a tryout, it gives you the option to reschedule or cancel in that same email. All right. And make sure, guys, I know I've been answering them as I get them, but make sure to send all your questions to Sam because she has a list that we're going to ask at the end of the session. Okay, now I think we've given you guys enough time. And of course, if you need the link afterwards, you can take a picture of the QR code, you can figure out when to sign up, and you are able to sign up for a tryout after the info session is over. We're just going to move on for the recording. So, all right. We're going to move into the Q&A time. So we're going to just go back to this screen and we can actually take it off so you guys can see us more face to face.
All right, perfect. So I'll go ahead and start with some of the first questions. We have a lot flooding in now, but first question, just to clarify, when will the case materials for tryouts be distributed?
So the case materials are coming in what we call a tryout packet. So when you try out when you register for a tryout, you're going to have to give us your name, your phone number, and your email so that we can send all of that information to you. You will be able to access that tryout packet through your email. We're going to send it out to everyone who's registered for a tryout tomorrow. We just wanted to wait for both information sessions to finish so everyone has an equal amount of time to prepare for their tryout.
All right, and we had a couple people notice that we were recording and they're asking where they can access the recording after this session.
Definitely. So we're going to have our technology coordinator upload this recording onto our YouTube page, and I'm going to link that in the chat. Give me 1 second. I can find it for you guys so that you can have access to the channel, and you'll be able to see actually last year's session as well. We recommend you watch this year because, you know, these are tryouts for this year. But yes, this is our YouTube channel. It's called UF Mock Trial, but here's the link I can put in the chat right here.
All right. Next question. How often does the team meet and practice on a weekly basis?
Yeah. So our practices are Sundays at 6 p.m. and Wednesday at 7:30. You may have leading up to a tournament, if your team is traveling, you may have like one additional practice or anything like that right before your tournament, but typically weekly, it's going to be Sundays and Wednesdays. Conflicts for those days, the only conflicts that we accept are class or work, and we still recommend that you make it to that session after your shift finishes or something like that. So if you have another organization that meets at night, unfortunately, we're not going to accept that as an excuse letter or as some sort of absence that would be excused. So just make sure that you have time for the litigators in your schedule.
All right, getting a few questions now that the tryout slots have actually all filled up, and they're asking if they're not able to try out anymore.
So actually, we're going to go ahead and open more slots right now. Just give me 1 second. We had a feeling everything was going to fill up. We're so excited. You guys are excited to try out. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend that Saturday time. So Saturday, September 4th until 2 p.m. And we're going to open those slots. If you refresh the page and you weren't able to register, you should be able to register for that Saturday. If there still are not enough slots, let us know.
All right, someone asked if tryouts are in person.
So tryouts are tentatively in person. You saw in that email that you just received when you registered for a tryout that they are tentatively in person, room to be announced. So 72 hours leading up to your tryout, we're going to send you an additional email with a reminder saying, hey, you signed up for a tryout, please come. And we're going to give you the room number that's there that we have reserved for that day of the week.
All right, and someone asked if they're able to switch their day for a tryout.
Definitely. So that confirmation email that you just got, if you, go to your email now, you can click the reschedule button or you can cancel it and sign up for a completely new tryout.
What is the attire for tryouts? Are men expected to wear suits? Are blouses and dress pants okay?
Definitely. So we ask for business professional or whatever your closet can provide that's closest to business professional. So basically what we're asking is, whatever your closet can provide. If you have a blazer and a blouse, if you have a suit and a tie, that's great. But if you don't, a polo shirt works just fine. We just want to see the effort put in to make sure that you're dressy enough for trial. Another resource that we really love to promote is the Gator Career Closet. It's located in the Rights Union and you can rent professional clothing. They typically rent it out for, interviews or conventions or things where you need to be dressier, this is one of those times. So you can go ahead and get any sort of business professional attire from the career closet or thrift it if you know you want to be environmentally friendly.
Okay, so who judges the actual competitions?
So I actually will lump this into two questions because I'm sure the other question is coming too. So judges at the competitions are going to be judges, lawyers, and legal professionals. So anything from a law student to a circuit judge. You know, we're being judged by people in the legal field. They have knowledge of the rules of evidence, of courtroom procedure, and we get feedback from them. So the other part of that I was going to say is that the tryouts are judged by our coaching staff and current members on the team. And I see that tryout slots have filled up again. Thank you all so much for being so proactive. We're going to open more slots. We have to discuss a date now because that date has been completely filled on Saturday. However, you can look out on our social media at UF LitiGators. I'm going to put that in the chat where we can figure out, because we have to be able to, oh, that's not it. LitiGators. There you go. So the one in lowercase is the correct Instagram. We're going to post when we have additional tryout slots open. And you can also continue to check that, kind of like an ad drop where you look for an open slot in a class. People are going to cancel their tryouts and you can fill those slots. But we need to make sure that we have an additional room reservation. Maybe it's the Sunday before, maybe it's the Sunday afterwards, but we'll definitely make sure to accommodate you all if you do want to try out.
All right, I'm going to kind of lump a couple questions together because they're all kind of along the same lines. So are there any specific parameters that are used during tryouts? What do you really look for during tryouts? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So first off, I can give you a couple of just buzzwords, things that we look for, things that are on our rubric when we're judging you. It is charisma, confidence, presentation, and pronunciation. So we want to make sure that you are an eloquent speaker. And even if you have no experience in public speaking, that you're still able to hold yourself with confidence. Another thing that we look for on the team is personality. And it's not like we're judging you whether or not you have a good or bad personality, but we just want to make sure that you're being your 100% truest self in your tryout to see if you would be a good fit on the team. The LitiGators are not just a professional organization, we're also a social organization. We have mentor-mentee, we have group socials, we have, hangouts in the library, things like that. And we want to make sure that people we're bringing into our community are, a good fit for the organization overall. It doesn't mean you have to be extroverted. In fact, I would probably say the majority of the team is probably split between extroverts and introverts. So if you are a little bit on the shyer side, do not worry. I would probably say my freshman year, I could never sit on the Zoom call talking to 100 people. So progress, in my 3 years of being here. So we want to just make sure that you're putting as much effort into your tryout to show yourself. And I know it's corny to say be yourself, but it really is what you have to do. I can give you a little anecdote about my tryout. I talked about my love of Costco pizza and how my middle name is really uncommon. And those were the two things that I talked about. So I wasn't, only plugging the fact that I wanted to be a lawyer or anything like that. I just talked about things that were just interesting to me, and Costco pizza happened to be the debate in my round. So it's really, what you make of it. Don't worry if you talk about some weird stuff. We are all, interested in everything you want to bring to the table. And we're also looking for, someone who is able to be confident and is able to memorize the material. All of our material is memorized at tournaments. So we want to make sure that you're able to give your tryout not reading off of notes. So those are kind of a lot of things to look for. And of course, if you missed any of those, there's going to be a recording on the YouTube later.
All right. And someone asked how often the team travels, how often are tournaments?
So tournaments will be throughout the semester. Each of our 5 teams is going to travel to 3 tournaments each, so 15 tournaments in total, but you're only going to be going to 3 of them if you make the team. You can also submit conflicts. Let's say you have your sister's getting married one weekend or something like that. You can submit conflicts that you don't get assigned to a tournament that weekend, but they go on pretty much throughout the semester. I would probably say October, November, December is probably for the fall semester. And then for spring, we have about on average 3 tournaments as well.
Someone asked if you can make the team as both an attorney and a witness.
You can make it as one or both, and you'll be called back in one of those capacities. So attorney, witness, or both, and you can make the team in any of those 3 options.
Are tournaments held both in the fall and spring semester?
Yeah, so tournaments are going to be held in the fall and spring. Invitationals, which is where we get invited to those other colleges and universities, are in the fall. And in the spring, we have our national competitive season where we're trying to work our way up to nationals.
A lot of various questions about whether we hold annual tryouts, if we hold tryouts again in the spring, what happens if you don't make the team during these rounds of tryouts?
Yeah, so that's a great question. If you guys remember, I know it's been a little bit, we've been talking to you guys for an hour now, but the video at the beginning of the information session actually showed you that a lot of our members don't make the team their first year, and that's totally okay. Some people need more development to, you know, grow more into themselves, get more comfortable speaking in front of other people. So if you don't make the team your freshman year, your sophomore year, your junior year, whatever it is, you can always try out again. And secondly, to answer your question, we only do tryouts in the fall because our spring season is our nationals competitive season. So we're not looking to bring people onto the team at that time. We're only looking to bring them on fall to train them up to prepare for the spring. Additionally, there are other organizations on campus that you may be recommended to join if you don't make it to the LitiGators. And, you know, we'll get there when we cross that bridge if you don't unfortunately make the team this time around. But you can go to a different place, another, you know, pre-legal society or something like that to build on your mock trial skills before you come back and try out for the team again.
We have a couple seniors joining in on the info sessions. So they're asking whether or not we accept seniors, or if seniors are allowed to participate, or if that affects their tryout process at all.
Yeah. So the answer is no, it does not affect your tryout process at all. Last year, we accepted 2 seniors onto the team. So it's not something that, you know, holds you back in any way. And so the only thing that I would say is that obviously you wouldn't be able to return for another year, but that has no bearing on your tryout. We look at every single year as its own individual year. So you're competitive for the fall semester and the spring semester. It doesn't matter if you have 4 years to go, 1 year to go, it doesn't affect your tryout at all whatsoever. And you're welcome to try out any year you may be, you know, interested in trying out.
A few questions wondering on the, I guess, realistic hours that we put into mock trial and what the commitment actually looks like and the workload.
Yeah, so I laugh because I spend a lot of time with mock trial people. I live with mock trial people in my apartment. And also something that I wanted to add from the last question, just something that I didn't state, is also once you make the team, you don't have to try out again. So if you make it as a freshman or you make it as a senior, you never have to try out again. You are on the LitiGators until you graduate or you no longer want to be on the team, whatever it may be. But to answer your question, a reasonable amount of hours. So Sunday and Wednesday, you can basically count from 6 p.m. onwards on Sunday and 7:30 p.m. onwards on Wednesday to kind of be a wash. We get out of practice pretty late, I would say around 11 p.m. for the 7:30 day and maybe like 10:30, 10 on the Sunday. So I'm not a mathematician. You can kind of envision it from there. And then outside of those 2 practices, you'll have to work on your material with your partner. So the attorney and the witness will match up together. The opener and the closer will match up together. So you'll be able to, you know, spend some more time with them in the library and stuff. And if you do want to participate in any optional social events, that'll attack on hours as well. But what I can say in sort of like a blanket statement is that the mock trial team, you get out of it what you put into it. So the more you're involved, the more you're excited to be at practice, go to the social events, the more you're able to bond with these really amazing people and spend time with them. So I can't really give you a number because it really depends on how active you are on the team past your mandatory involvement, but I hope that helps.
Are there any team fees or other financial commitments besides food during travel season?
So there are no mandatory commitments. The only other thing that we have is merchandise. So if you want to buy like a LitiGator sweatshirt or a bucket hat or something like that, we do put out merchandise so that you can rep the LitiGators on campus, but that is completely optional. You do not have to buy it. And yeah, so there's no other mandatory like team fees or anything like that. Everything is covered for the team.
A couple people said that they have other commitments that might interfere with Wednesday practices. How would that work for them?
So it depends on the commitment. If it's a class, it's totally fine. School comes first. If it's another organization, we ask that you prioritize mock trial for Wednesday nights. If it's work or something like that, we're more than happy to work with you. It's just, you know, school and work are the big commitments that we, you know, give excused absences to. But if you have another organization that meets on Wednesday, we ask you to, you know, reconsider and make sure that you have enough time to put LitiGators into your schedule for those Wednesday nights.
About how many people make it onto the team?
So this is a question we get often, and I hate that I can't answer it, but I really can't because every single year it varies. It really depends on how many people we are interested in seeing on the team. So we don't have a number that we come into every year. We don't have a quota. That's why we kind of have like a general range of how many people are on the team, because it changes every year with how many people we'd like to invite onto the team. Every single tryout, no matter if you're trying out on the first day or the last day, is weighted equally. And if, let's say, we've got a number of people that we think is a sizable amount, and then we see 6 more people on the last day that we're like, oh my God, we have to take them, we will take those people. So we don't really have a number, unfortunately, that I can give you, but just know that every single tryout is weighted equally, no matter what day you tried out on.
Can you try out as more than one witness?
So that's a good question. I like the commitment, but no, so you have to pick either an expert, a character, or an emotional witness. So you have to just pick one of those 3, whichever one you think you would be strongest in, because you're limited to 1 attorney tryout and 1 witness tryout. So you can't try out as like 2 witnesses or 2 attorneys.
Let's see. Excuse me. Can you just clarify a little bit and go over the class credits that people can receive for being on the team again?
For sure. So the class that you get is for being a part of the team is called Trial Advocacy. It's taught by Dr. Joel Black, which is the head coach for the team. It's offered as a 1-credit course, but you can take it up to 3 times at UF. So you get 3 credits overall for being on the team. Basically, you can't enroll in the fall that you would come onto the team. Unfortunately, we already have Ad Drop Week is going to be ending on Friday. So make sure to drop your classes if you need to. Just as a reminder, Ad Drop Week is ending. But for the fall semester, you won't be able to enroll, but for spring semester, you can. It's 1 credit per semester, and it's just a class that gets tacked on to your courses. You'll see something come up on Canvas, but there's no assignments. It's an immediate 4.0 added to your grade, to your GPA. And you get to take that course 3 times while you're at UF. I am personally taking that course my junior spring, my senior fall, and my senior spring, but you can space it out however you'd like. You don't need to take them in succession.
And it's not mandatory to enroll in the course. It's just an option if you did want to have it on your schedule and get an additional credit on your schedule.
Yeah, if you're coming in with like an AA or something like that and you don't have the credits to play around with, it's completely optional. It's just an additional bonus for putting all the work that you do into the team.
And just for clarification, the office hours that we're hosting are not related to that course at all. They're only related to the tryouts that are going on and that we're conducting. So the office hours that you'd be attending are just for this case and for this tryout.
Yeah, and actually, why don't we can go ahead and share the office hours screen, because I think some people wanted it as well. So they're virtual, and it's to go over your material. It's not related to the class at all. I know it has the same name as like office hours that you meet with a professor, but you're going to be meeting with people on the team. So we'll give you a second to pull that up. And also, go ahead. All good.
You don't have to sign up for a specific time slot for the office hours. It's just an open Zoom call that you can join at any point in the day.
Yeah, so anytime you'll just enter the Zoom call, you will kind of just tell the person in the main room like, hey, I'm looking for help on my attorney tryout. They'll match you up with one of the attorneys on the team or, whoever's available, and they'll give you advice. We are not allowed to write your material in the office hours. We're only allowed to review it, but it's still a helpful resource. So you can get, extra help.
And the Zoom link for office hours will be sent out in the same email that you're receiving the tryout materials for. We have a couple questions in the chat about people that haven't been able to get a time slot for tryouts yet, and they're wondering how they'll get their packet. Sophia, if you want to answer that, or I can answer.
Yeah, definitely. So if you haven't been able to get a tryout slot, what we're actually going to do, we just heard back from our coaches, we're going to put you on a wait list. You are going to get off of that wait list. Don't worry. It's just so we can have your email compiled so that you can go ahead and put in your information so you can still get that tryout packet with everyone else. It just means that you don't have a secure time slot yet. So don't worry. It's not like you're not going to be able to try out for the team that you're waiting for a slot to open up. We're just going to wait for our room reservations to be confirmed, and then we'll send it out to you. So I will go ahead and send that link in the chat as soon as we've got it from our coaches.
All right. And let's see, how are tournaments judged and how are teams typically ranked?
So teams are judged on every single part of the trials, every cross-examination, every speech, and every direct examination are going to be judged individually. They're going to be scored, and then each team will have all their scores added up, and whichever team has the most points at the end of the round will win that round. And there are 2 ballots per round, so you'll have a record out of 8. So you can go 8-0 at a tournament, you can go 0-8 at a tournament, and then you're ranked based off of your record. And the top 6 teams are rewarded at a tournament from 1st place to 6th place.
In terms of an opening statement, couple questions. How long can it be? And will people get to decide whether or not it's prosecution or defense?
So we are going to give any information about, the side of the case in the tryout packet. But as for just a general overview, just so we're not getting too much into the nitty gritty, an opening is typically 5 minutes, but we recommend that you speak anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. If you can get to that 5-minute mark, fantastic. But if you can only get 3 or 4, that's totally fine too. We just want to see the best foot that you can put forward.
A couple of people asking about the best times to set up their tryouts, whether or not they're at a disadvantage if their tryouts are close together, things along that line.
So it's obviously a personal preference. I personally would like to space mine out because I feel like I can memorize things better if it's 1 and 1, but some people also just like to get it all done with on one day. It really depends on the person. If you want to add, your name to the wait list, or you want to cancel one of those tryouts to get a later date or an earlier date or something like that, you're more than welcome to do so, but it will not put you at a disadvantage. It's really just up to personal preference.
Do you have any pros, cons for being a witness or over an attorney and vice versa? Would you say one is easier over the other?
So I hate to sound like a broken record, but also personal preference. I think witnessing is impossible. I cannot act to save my life. I've been put on the stand as a witness before. It did not go well. I am much better when I am arguing objections and giving a speech. But there are also some people on the team who have never attorneyed before. So it really just depends on, which one you think would be a better strength. Like I said before, I recommend that you try out as both just to see. But if you really, really know that one is not for you, you simply cannot do it, don't push yourself to do it just to maximize that shot. Also know that your tryouts are going to be evaluated individually. So let's say you absolutely bomb your attorney tryout. It doesn't go well. You're like, I'm not going to make the team as an attorney. That is completely separate from your witness tryout. And in fact, you're probably going to have different people watching you anyway. So we can try to rotate our entire team through the tryout so that you're getting new people every time. So don't worry about, if you mess up one, it will have absolutely no impact on the other. I'm sure if I tried out as a witness my first year, I would have absolutely bombed and only made the team as an attorney again. So really just kind of play to your strengths, maximize your opportunity if you think you have the capability to, but if not, no worries. I'm the same way.
And you do get the opportunity once you're on the team to try different roles. So you're probably not going to end up having the same exact role from the semester that you join the team onward. Everybody kind of tries new things. I've been in every single attorney role, and I've kind of been with different witnesses, had different speeches. A lot of people try out as an attorney and then end up witnessing later on and vice versa. So you'll definitely have a lot of wiggle room to play with what role you want to have on the team.
Okay.
There are a couple people that live off campus and don't have cars, so they want any advice on how they can carpool or get to tryouts.
Yeah, Sam, if you want to take this one, I know you live pretty far off campus. I've personally lived always very close to campus, so I don't really have any tips for you, but Sam probably can answer that question better.
Yeah, so I lived quite a bit of ways off campus for a couple years. The bus system here at UF is honestly really helpful. So I'd recommend downloading the Translock app on your phone, and it shows you all the bus routes that are ongoing and with times and everything and locations. And you can definitely find a bus that will get you to campus where you need to be. Let's see. Also, yes, someone did just message me. Lyft also does give a discount to students if you do have a later tryout in the evening time. I believe they have a 50% off discount for UF students on campus after, I believe it's 8 or 9 p.m. So definitely look out for that too, if that's an option for you.
And also, just by the way, we just got the waitlist link from our coaches. So I'm going to go ahead and send the form in the chat now. You should be able to open that up. And just to note how many slots you're looking for.
And tryouts will, the location of tryouts will be sent to you via email as well with the tryout materials. One question about what the dress code is for practices. Do people have to dress professionally for practice?
Nope, not at all. Some people come in big t-shirts and Nike shorts. Some other people come in like, I don't know, I've seen sundresses at practice. I've seen, like polo shirts. Like I've really seen it all. There's absolutely no dress code for practice, as casual or as formal as you'd want it to be.
All right, only a couple more questions here. What would you say is the best thing you can do to prepare for your tryout?
This is a good one. So we also have tryout tips on our Instagram that I linked in the chat earlier at UF LitiGators. So we've been releasing tryout tips for the past couple of weeks to give you guys a little bit of help. But for me, what helped the most my freshman year, I struggled the most with memorization. So for me, I lived in a dorm on campus and I put a sign out on the door of my common room. And I was like, don't come in. I'm practicing to try out for the LitiGators. That's literally exactly what it said. My RA approved it. Please ask your RA before you do that. But I sat in there and I talked to myself for like 4 days. I straight up just rehearsed my speech over and over and over. And then I brought it to my roommate and I said it to her a bunch of times, because it's better to talk to someone who's never heard of the case before, especially if you're practicing for an opening statement where you have to memorize 5 minutes of material or however long your speech is all at once, because they can give you critiques on like, oh, that part really didn't make sense to me. I've never even heard of this person before. Like, I didn't get why you brought that person in. Outside people really give a lot of beneficial feedback. So I would recommend also not only saying it to yourself a lot, but saying it in front of other people a lot. If you're a freshman, you probably haven't called your parents yet at home. So FaceTime them, call them, whoever your guardian is, call them and ask them if you can, give their speech, or maybe call your best friend from back home or something like that. Call them and ask them if you can give your speech in front of them, or if you can practice your character, or you can practice your cross-examination, whatever material you need to practice. The more you're saying it and getting comfortable saying it in front of other people, the better off you're going to be. And then I'm trying to think of anything else. Recording yourself on voice memos to memorize the material. If you put your headphones in on campus and you're walking around, you can like say it along with yourself in the recording. You look like a crazy person, but we're all crazy out in this world. So what does it matter? That one's also really effective.
All right, and last question for now, unless we have any last minute ones. Do the openings for tryouts, do they have a certain prompt, or are they kind of just made up on your own and based on anything you want to talk about?
So the opening statement is going to come from the case summary that we send out in the case packet. So we gave you guys the sneak peek to the case this year. It's an aggravated arson case, the state of Midlands versus Dakota Sutcliffe. In that case packet is going to be a case summary where you can kind of see the main facts, and you can also read through all the affidavits to introduce the witnesses. And in that case packet is also instructions on how to write the opening statement for this case. So you're not just writing it about like anything you'd want, you're going to write it about the case. And you can also rewatch the recording of this information session to see Laura give hers on last year's case. So you can't just copy it verbatim, it's different cases, but you can follow her structure in the tryout packets. I actually got 2 more questions, so I just want to answer them. They're a private message to me. Being on the wait list will not affect your chances of trying out or making the team. It's just so that we can send you your tryout materials, your name. I won't even remember that you were on the wait list with so many people trying out, so you're totally fine. And then if you want to change from a witness to an attorney, let's say, you're already registered for your session, just email us and we can go ahead and change your tryout from a witness to an attorney, or whatever way you'd like to change it. So I'm going to go ahead and put our email in the chat. We've got one more question coming in. If you make the team as an attorney or a witness, does that mean I won't be able to play the other ever? Not at all. A lot of people, switch and play both roles in their time on the team. So if you're really bummed about not making it as a witness, only as an attorney, you can definitely petition to have a witness spot as well going into the spring season or something like that. Every single person in their time will probably end up playing both roles on the team. Whether or not they're good at both is a different story, like myself. But most people play both. So don't worry about it if you only make it as one.
I got 2 more questions here. So do you have to print or bring that packet with you to tryouts? No. However, if you want to go ahead and print it out, if it's feasible for you, I would definitely recommend, especially if you are much more of a visual person, if writing on the case would help you remember things, if highlighting certain things would help you remember it better, definitely feel free to do that if that's a better way for you to prepare. And then another question was, how much legal background should you have for a tryout? You don't need any. So I personally didn't have any legal, I wasn't even pre-law at that point. I was actually pre-med when I joined the team. So I had no legal background whatsoever. And a lot of the tryout is not going to be based on a lot of law and procedure that will be taught to you more so once you actually get on the team and you have to deal with rules of evidence and case law and all that. But for the tryout, we're just looking at your speech, at your tone, cadence, performance during your exam, your direct or cross examination, and your character. So you don't have to have any legal experience. That's not really a part of the tryout.
All right, any other questions?
I have not gotten any. Oh, one more. What piqued my interest, even though I was originally pre-med? So funnily enough, my roommate actually kind of dragged me to the info session at first. I had no idea what mock trial was until I got to the info session, as I'm sure a lot of you probably can relate to. Honestly, once you start performing and it's really a test on yourself. So it pushed me out of my comfort zone. I'd never done public speaking before. I'd never acted in any capacity. So doing that kind of really sparked my interest because it made me kind of have to step out of my comfort zone and be a different person. And it made me a better person at that, but it showed me a lot of legal analysis. It showed me a different perspective on the world than what I had experienced before. So that's kind of what made me more interested in mock trial, kind of just seeing the different ways and the different people that come together for an activity. It doesn't matter what background you're from. So that was really cool for me personally.
Awesome. And I can't say anything about that. I came into college as a political science major, but there is a mix of both on the team, people from a STEM background, people from a humanities. One more, yes, for tryouts, you dress professionally as much as your closet will allow. If not, you can totally thrift, or you can go to the Gator Career Closet and they'll give you like a rental suit or something like that for you to wear for the tryout. So if you don't have access to business professional in your own closet, you can definitely get it from either of those resources. All right, I think that is everything. Sam and I are going to stick around for the next couple of minutes. If you have any personal questions, you can go ahead and turn your videos back on now. We're going to stop the recording. Thank you so much for coming out, and we really appreciate your time, and we hope to see you at tryouts.